A lot of those features will also work on the 7800. So, Adam, I'm going to turn it over to you, sir.
Well, thank you very much. Well, good afternoon, Ray, and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Adam. Call signs of VA7OJ and AB4OJ. You may know me from my website, AB4OJ.com, on which I have a lot of material relating to Icom radios. This afternoon, I'm going to give a little live demo of the new features added by the Rev.2 or version 2 upgrade to the IC-7700. This upgrade is similar to the recent version 3.01 upgrade for the IC-7800.
And Adam.
And the quite a number of new features and functions have been added by this upgrade.
And Adam, one thing I'd like to add that I forgot to mention is we've been asked many years, when is Icom going to come out with an SDR radio? Well, we've been doing it for 10 years.
Well, yeah, the part of the radio which you could say the brain and heart of the radio, namely the ADC, analog to digital converter, DSP, and digital to analog converter, that part of the radio is a true SDR because all its functionality is defined by software, and you don't have to change any hardware module to change functions radically in that part of the radio.
Exactly, and the user interface, instead of it being a computer keyboard and mouse, although we've added those functionalities to the radio, is something everybody's commonly using, a bunch of knobs and buttons.
Yes, now here in this case, your analog to digital conversion takes place at IF. In a direct sampling SDR radio, the Flex 6000 series, the analog to digital conversion takes place at RF. That's the major difference. But then it's a different class of operation. The 7700 or any of these Icom radios is comfortable for the operator who likes to have a radio with a front panel, knobs, and a display. A radio requiring a computer and computer mouse for operation is a mode of operating a radio with which many hams, including myself, have not yet come to terms. I have to be honest with you on that. I like the features on the 7700 because you can have, in many ways, the best of both worlds. Well, just to sum up very quickly at the beginning, the features added to the 7700 and 7800 by this upgrade are the one that strikes you the most obviously is the waterfall along with the spectrum scope. The radio now has a pretty good functional waterfall. Then you can use the computer mouse to control the frequency by clicking or dragging on the spectrum scope. So you can tune the radio over a band of frequencies with a computer mouse, either a wired mouse or a wireless mouse, as well as the previous function of plugging a keyboard into the USB port, allowing you to send RTTY or PSK. Another feature which has been added is an audio scope on the screen. It's actually a little FFT spectrum analyzer, a fast Fourier transform spectrum analyzer covering 0 to 4 kilohertz, which works on receive and transmit and can be used for your audio lineup or for assessing the audio quality of a distant signal. And there's also an audio oscilloscope which will allow you to inspect either your transmitted waveform or the waveform you receive from the distant station. There's a very large feature set which I won't have time to cover because of the configuration time required, but if you have used or have read about the Icom RSBA1 software suite, where you have to have a server computer at your radio and a client computer at the distant remote control point, this radio now has Ethernet connectivity via its Ethernet port at the back. It doesn't have a USB port at the back, but it has the Ethernet port, which is better and faster. The Ethernet port transports the CI5 control data and also the transmit and receive audio or baseband for digital modes to a computer running RSBA1. So that computer can be remote. So what you do is the radio has a built-in RSBA1 server as part of the new firmware. And you plug the radio into your router, you configure it as a client of the router, and you've got internet access or access through your home LAN. You can sit in another room with your computer and work the radio via your RSBA1 client, or you can be in an outside location and work the radio through your internet connection. That's a very powerful new feature set which has been added by this upgrade. The digital voice recorder feature has been considerably enhanced. There are more powerful voice memories available, and there's also a means of recording both sides of a QSO. There's QSO record, which has a capacity of quite a few hours. If you want to record a complete QSO, say during a de-expedition or something, you can repeat the voice audio transmit function. So if you have a CQ package you want to transmit, you can transmit it over and over again. Another feature which is very handy for CW operators, there have been comments that the audio peak filter doesn't have gain when you turn it on. The audio peak filter now has up to 6 dB gain, which I'll show you. It's adjustable in 1 dB steps. There's a transmit RF onset delay function, which allows you to configure the time between grounding the keying line and turning on the RF to accommodate an older amplifier with a slow transmit-receive relay without hot switching the amplifier. This is a feature which was very much in demand, and I claim credit for it because I remember drawing a diagram for some Icom engineers over sushi at a restaurant in Osaka in 2010, and that led to this feature. Oh, my pleasure. Yeah, I was glad that when I saw that actually come to life, I felt really good. There are also, to allow for remote control via the CI5 link, which is now on the Ethernet port, they've added additional CI5 commands to control RIT and Delta Transmit or XIT. So we'll start off with the waterfall. What I've got here now is just the calibration marker. You won't hear it because it's 0 beat, but it's shown on the waterfall. You can configure the waterfall to give you different colors according to the amplitude of the signal. There's not much you can do with the internal attenuator because this is an internally generated signal. But you can change. You can set the waterfall parameters through the scope set function. You can adjust the peak color level of the waterfall. What will happen is, as the amplitude of the signal increases, you'll get different color shadings. So you can tell a waterfall is a display in the frequency, time, and amplitude domains. The amplitude is given by the colors, the time obviously by the duration of the waterfall, and the frequency and bandwidth by the position of the waterfall and its width. Another thing you can do with the new scope. Oh, you're blocking the camera. Sorry about that. Okay, thanks. Another thing you can do with the scope, if you prefer to have a single line type of display rather than like a spectrum analyzer, rather than the filled display, you can do this. Bear with me a little bit here. Line plus fill. Okay, so you get an outline as well as the filled display. Now, here's a trick. You set the current color value to 30, 30, 30. What that does is it sets the fill. It sets the fill to the same color as the scope background, and you get a line rather like the trace on the spectrum analyzer. It's maybe a little bit easier to view if you've got a band full of signals. If you prefer to have the fill and the line, you can have both, or you can have just the fill, which gives you a blob. And the width of the blob is determined by the sweep speed, which in turn determines the resolution bandwidth of the scope. So here you have the scope and the waterfall. There's another option you can have with the waterfall is this. This is the wide mode. If I turn waterfall display off, it doesn't turn the waterfall off completely. It gives you the option of the regular old scope that you're familiar with. And if you select wide, you get scope plus waterfall, and it shrinks the frequency display. I prefer this because you still get the full width scope, the full height scope. Now, if you want to control the frequency with a mouse, you can even use a wireless mouse. I think this is quite slick. Now the pointer is under control of the mouse. I can point and click to another frequency, or I can click and drag. This is a little bit delicate because setting it to exactly the frequency you want is a little tricky, but the point and click is actually better because you can point it to a line on the graticule, which is the frequency you want, and set it back to that frequency, or close enough to it. So now you've got mouse control of the frequency. You can plug any type of mouse into the USB port, and it'll support a mouse and keyboard. There are some devices it won't support, but it will work with a wired or wireless mouse. I've got a wired mouse here as well. The wired mouse is live all the time, but it's not going to alter the frequency unless you actually click it, or click and drag, or point and click. And now I'd like to show you the audio scope on both receive and transmit. What we have here is an audio spectrum analyzer on the left. That's a 1 kilohertz test tone, nothing much of anything, but it's the best we can do because there's no antenna on the radio. There's an audio spectrum analyzer. It's an FFT analyzer. As you can see, it covers 0 to 4 kilohertz. And there's an audio oscilloscope as well. The setting of the audio level, the audio gain control, will affect the readings of the audio scope and audio spectrum analyzer because it samples the audio. It's a function in the DSP that reads the audio level. Now on transmit, you can use this. I'll show you how you do it. You can use this to adjust your transmit audio parameters. Hello, test. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Victor Alpha 7, Oscar Juliet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see there that it cuts off like a brick wall at 3 kilohertz. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got it in wide mode with compression. Now let's see, this is 100 to 2,900 hertz. Let's see if we switch it to narrow, which is 500 to 2,500 hertz. The difference will be dramatic. One, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Victor Alpha 7 Oscar Juliet testing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can use this to line up your audio using the internal menu settings of your radio, both to your liking by ear and to the correct parameters according to the scope. So if you want to see if you're doing, as we have here, 500 to 2500 hertz, if you look carefully at the spectrum analyzer, you'll see those are the limits of your occupied bandwidth. That's what's going out on the air. You can depend on it because the amplification stages of the transmitter are not going to broaden out that signal. One, two, three, four, 1, 2, 3, 4. The scope will also show you your actual transmitted waveform. Doesn't tell you too much unless you're whistling, but if you have visitors in the shack, it'll impress them, especially children. They love to see their voices on a scope. Now, when it comes to assessing the quality of a distant signal, if you have what is all too typical on the HF bands nowadays, you have an SSB signal with the lows about 30 dB above the nominal 1 kilohertz reference, and the highs about 20 dB below it, you'll see something that looks like a highway off-ramp on this analyzer, and you can give the guy a readout. You can, if you like, you can snap a picture of the screen and email it to him and say, this is what your audio looks like. And it's really indisputable. That's if he wants to be helped, which is not necessarily the case. Or if you are helping a friend set up his transmit audio, you can give him all the parameters right off your audio spectrum analyzer and scope. So this is a very powerful feature. You can adjust. There are some adjustments here. You can set the waveform color of the scope of the analyzer, and you can set the waveform color of the oscilloscope. You can also set turn the waterfall on and off, and you can adjust you can set the analyzer to give you a line display or a filled-in display. Okay, I'll just pause if you have any questions so far. Okay, thanks. Now the APF, the audio peak filter, I'll try to set this up. With a continuous tone, it may not be so easy to hear it, but we'll give it a shot. Okay, that's what we want. Okay, in the level menu, there's an APF level parameter, an APF level setting. I'll see if I can get it to operate and see how it affects the signal. Okay. Okay, there we've got the signal going through the APF. It's now nice and narrow. The APF not only removes the noise skirts on either side of the signal, it will enhance the signal level with respect to the band noise on either side of it. So for a CW operator listening to a weak signal, that's a very valuable modification. Other radios have had this feature for some time, where you can increase the gain of the APF to give you an enhanced CW tone. On the Icom radios, until this feature was added, it was lacking, so they put it in. The transmit delay function is another setting in the menu. I'll have to see where it is. Yes, here we are. There are two different sets of settings. There's one for HF and one for 6 meters. Sorry, Adrian, I didn't mean to move that around. Okay. You can configure the delay for 10, 20, or 30, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 milliseconds. 30 milliseconds will meet the needs of even an amplifier such as a Heathkit SP200 or 220, which has the a rather large open frame keying relay, TR relay inside. But this does not get rid of the need to use a keying interface. There has been, even before this upgrade, you could set the type of keying circuit. It's called send relay type, either an internal read relay, it's called lead in these radios, or MOSFET. The relay is rated at 16 volts, 1/2 amp non-inductive. The MOSFET is rated at 250 volts, 200 milliamps non-inductive. I don't think that's quite safe to use with the SP200 or 220, which put 130 volts on the keying line. Just to be comfortable, you'd want to use a device such as the Harbach or the Ameritron ARB704 between the radio and those amplifiers. With a modern solid-state amplifier or an alpha, which have electronic keying circuits, you don't need that. But what you can do is adjust the keying delay so that you'll be absolutely sure you don't have hot switching. If you're using QSK with an amplifier, the keying delay should be shorter rather than longer. Obviously, you don't want to clip dits. The voice transmit function you can set it to repeat. I'm not sure if there's anything stored in there now. There's nothing set in there now. Let's see, I'll record something. 1, 2, 3, 4. Test, 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 test. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh. Test, test, test. Victor Alpha 7 Oscar Juliet. Test. Something I'm not doing right. You're in CW. I'm in CW. Okay, thanks. Thanks. Yep. Okay, let's try it again. One, 2, 3, 4. Victor Alpha 7 Oscar Juliet. Test. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, yes. Yeah, we turned them. Well, it is transmitting. It should repeat automatically after 5 seconds. Okay, I don't want to spend too much time on that. I'm probably not doing it right. I'm not familiar with terribly familiar with the voice recording features. Okay, I'm not terribly familiar with the voice recording and playback features, so forgive me if I didn't get that working right. But it's not that different from the existing voice memory feature package. Now, for if you want to set the radio up for remote control, there's quite a bit of additional configuration involved. First of all, you can now, if you're in the remote control mode, you can configure the shutdown function so that if you press shutdown on the RSBA1 client, it'll either power down the entire radio, but not the power supply. It won't flip the main switch at the back of the power supply. It won't remove the main supply. It'll power the radio down as if you press the power button, or it'll put the radio into standby. You can actually alter that. So it's in standby or shutdown. This is what happens. It gives you the option of going into standby or shutdown. You select either and you push the power switch. Can you hear me all right? What happens here is you've now got the option in the menu that you can either put the radio in standby or shut it down entirely.
That's without flipping the switch on the back.
Yes, of course. The mains power will be applied as long as the switch on the back is left on. Okay, it's in standby now. It goes back to its former condition immediately. It doesn't go through the power on self-test. It shuts down as it would when you press the button to shut it down. Normally, when you're not remote controlling, you run it in the shutdown mode. Now, you have to set up the CI5 as before with a correct transceiver address. You have to set up an IP address. The radio won't work as a DHCP client, so you have to give it a fixed IP address and define that address in your internet router. It's typically 192.168.0 something, whatever's in your network, with a standard subnet mask. Your default gateway, which is the default gateway address of your router. You can turn network control on or off as desired. These are the ports used for control. You can change them. The type of internet access line, fiber to the home, ADSL or CATV. Those are the two options. Fiber to the home is encountered mostly in Europe and Asia. It's not too much of it in North America. In North America, it's either ADSL or cable TV. I don't believe the system will work with dial-up. You've got different network user IDs that you can put in with passwords, and there's an administrator user ID and password. You can define any network user as an administrator. The administrator can reconfigure the radio. The network user is strictly a user, can't make any configuration changes to the radio. Network radio name, network audio sample rates, these are normally left in default. There's a lot of information about the configuration in the manual. There is a whole manual supplement. I'll pass it around if you would like to have a look at it. After the brochures is the manual supplement, which is quite a big document, but it's got everything there, and it's well produced, and the writer was a native English speaker. There's an American guy in Osaka who's actually become a friend of mine, and he's written that material.
So is that to say that you can
Just you don't need to download the whole manual again.
No,
Sorry,
just have to download the supplement. That power supply in the back is irrelevant, by the way. That's a power supply I have in my lab. I just stuck the two together for safekeeping. You don't have to download the whole manual. It's actually worth your while to download the latest user manual because that contains explanations of the features in the light of the upgrade. But then this manual supplement comes from the Icom Japan website. You get it from the same place as the regular user manual, and it refers to the new features and new functions added by the upgrade. And also, you'll be well advised, you have to upgrade your RSBA1 to 1.60. RSBA1, the base software is not free. You purchase it from Icom, but all subsequent upgrades are free. So if you have RSBA1 in your computer, you can just download version 1.60 and install it over the top of your existing RSBA1 installation, and it'll upgrade it. You don't need any new drivers. So that's fairly straightforward to do. But I recommend that you download both manuals, which will give you a feel for the upgrade. Installing the upgrade is quite straightforward. It's like any of the other upgrades. And are there any other aspects that you'd like me to show you?
Did they come with this 2.0 version for 7700 just recently? Because 3.0, 3.1 for 7800 been around for a few months already.
That's correct. The 2.0 for the 7700 was released on March 28th of this year. Took them a few months to do it. They were very heavily loaded with the work for the 7800. They started out with 3.0, and then when they decided to add the connectivity for RSBA1, they had to bring out 3.01, which added more features to make it possible for 3.0 to work with RSBA1. Then the version 2 upgrade for the 7700 had all that in it already in one shot.
So actually now they have both 7800 and 7700 have the same.
They have the same functionality, yeah. Perhaps I can show you the QSO recording. It won't be much of a QSO, but about the only thing I can record is the test tone with me transmitting in between. I'll try it. Okay, I'll repeat the question for the web audience. The gentleman asked me, what was your call? UA3AB Andy asked me whether the upgrade for the 3.01 upgrade for the 7800 was issued a few months before the 7700 version 2 upgrade. My reply was yes, it was. The 3.00 came out, and 3.01 added to the 7700 added hooks for RSBA1. In the meantime, they were working on the upgrade for the 7700, and the version 2 came out on the 28th of March of this year. So I'll try and simulate a QSO and record it. I need a thumb drive. Andy, can you loan me a thumb drive?
Going to Osaka here.
To where? I'm sorry?
To Osaka.
To Osaka, yeah, to the Asia Pacific DX convention. Yes, I'm planning to.
Me too.
Thank you. Okay, let's give this a shot. Okay, we're recording here. I'll just record this silly tone. Okay, and all the strange noises that go with it. VA7OJ. This is Victor Alpha 7 Oscar Julia testing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to the test tone. Okay, QSO play. Oh, I thought it would record the transmit as well. Oh well, doesn't record both sides. Oh, yeah, the transmit.
Okay, and all the strange noises that go with it. VA7OJ. This is Victor Alpha 7 Oscar Julia testing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to the test tone.
Okay, that works. Sorry, I'm getting a little nervous. Okay, the usual thing about fun. Yeah, I'll just remove this. Remove the thumb drive. Yes, Sandy.
I had already 3.0 on the radio.
On your 70.
And when I tried to upgrade to 3.1 or 3.01 from the thumb drive, it wouldn't do that.
Okay.
I had to go through flash, through compact flash.
Oh.
I don't know why.
I don't know why. You formatted the thumb drive on the radio. You went through the whole routine. That may be a peculiarity. I really don't know why that happened. Because you're supposed to be able to use the... maybe there might be in the 7800. I'm not familiar with the 7800 because I don't own one. You might have to set a parameter in the menu to upload from the... Is that correct? You're going to the setup. Yeah. You're going...
No, actually it was reading my thumb drive. Wouldn't do it. I think you have to turn it on and set up.
You have to turn it on and set up. You have to set it up so that it reads the thumb drive. Okay.
Well, try it again.
But so that it'll use it. It'll recognize that it's there.
No, it recognizes it. It shows it's there on the screen,
right.
but still wouldn't. Right. Okay, I'll try it again.
Okay. No, I couldn't give you a direct answer because I've never tried it on the 7800. So with this, I mean, you can record a QSO of several hours duration, as much capacity as you have in your thumb drive. So anyway, I've shown that feature does work. And as I said, unfortunately, I don't have a really interesting band full of signals to show you with the waterfall, but you will see all the activity. Okay, like this, with a wider span where you see all the calibration markers, you see their tracks on the waterfall as well. Okay, anybody have any more questions or like to see anything else?
I'd like to see the calibration tone and using the notch filter to remove it.
Sure. Okay, on the Icom DSP radios, the notch filter is a DSP feature which is inside the AGC loop, just along with the IF filters and the noise blanker and various other DSP features, except for the APF, which is post-AGC, and the noise reduction, which is post-AGC. All these features are inside the AGC loop. Now, watch what happens when I bring up the notch filter. Watch the S meter. And the audio scope is also pretty dramatic. Okay, the signal is gone from the S meter, and it's gone from the IF. You can hear that the receiver noise has come up again. What that means is that the unwanted signal has been completely suppressed. It's not capturing the AGC, and it's not swamping the receiver. Unlike, well, let's call it a competing brand radio in which the manual notch, suppresses the unwanted signal in the audio, but leaves it in the IF, where it will swamp the receiver because it captures the AGC. In the Icom radios, that just doesn't happen. That signal is gone. You can't see it on the audio scope, and above all, you can't see it on the S meter.
So you use the manual feature of the notch filter? That's the manual?
The manual notch will suppress a single tone. The auto notch is post-AGC, so it will suppress the audio, but not the signal in the IF. I can show you that. Okay, the audio is gone, but the signal is still in the IF, still on the S meter. Where the auto notch is useful is for dealing with multiple weak signals in the passband. If you have multiple weak tones, such as interference from a cable TV, you can suppress that easily with the auto notch without degrading the received signal. But when you have a single strong carrier, you can suppress it with the manual notch. And there's a little trick. If you have a couple of strong carriers, you can kill one of them with the manual notch and the other one with the passband tuning. There you'll get some degradation of your audio quality depending on where that carrier falls in the passband. But if you have, as I said, if you have two carriers, you can get rid of both of them with the passband tuning and the manual notch.
It's really effective to get rid of another station that's close in that you don't want to use a passband for. If you look at that one over there, you see the spectrum scope. The waterfall going down on the left side. You can take that manual notch, you can watch it track right across the audio spectrum, put it right on the clear you want to get there. It's very handy doing it. Without that, it's hard to feel where it's going and what's going, but with the scope, it's just great. You're talking about the 7700.
7800 is the same.
Really neat feature.
So is that in manual narrow?
You can do either. You can see the width change from the noise. So narrow to wide.
Yeah.
Do you know if they have a list of compatible USB devices yet?
Yes, there is a list of compatible USB devices in the manual supplement, as far as I recall.
My keyboard wasn't.
Oh no, not a list of devices by make and model, but a list of devices by Yeah, it says here about the USB connector. I'll read it. Supported only USB flash drive, keyboard, mouse, or hub. They recommend you power the transceiver off when connecting or disconnecting a device, which I didn't do, but they recommended. Yeah, it can lock up. Do not connect the following device: 2 or more of the same kind. Example: 2 mouses, or 2 hubs. Multimedia adapter, USB hard disk drive, flash drive bigger than 32 gigabits, or a Bluetooth keyboard or mouse.
I had a mini keyboard that I used for years, and I upgraded it. It would lock up occasionally. Put my wife's keyboard on, it worked great.
Okay. The question, by the way, was what devices are compatible with the USB port on the 7700 with the upgrade? And my reply was, the manual says what types of devices are permissible, but not the make and model of device.
Yeah, I'm a Yahoo group follower, and I want to thank you for all the...
Oh, maybe I know your name and call. Oh, yes, I've seen your posts from you, Gary.
I don't post very often, but I read everything that you put on there, and it's really good stuff. I appreciate it. Excellent information.
Yeah, I remember your call as well, Win. Yeah, well, great. Lovely to meet you guys in person.
And I wanted to come here to see you. So.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. That's lovely. Lovely to hear that.
Absolutely. I showed up yesterday at 2:30.
No, I did say Saturday.
You did. I did. And I got that 4 different times, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what is your website?
My website is www.alphabravo4oscarjuliet.com.
And the Yahoo group is?
Yahoo group is IC-7700. All one word. And IC-7700. Yeah, the 7600 is Icom 7600.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, I'm interested in the 7700.
No, well, I think the 7700 now that it has the Ethernet connectivity, to overcome the objection of having to use an interface box between your computer and the radio. I don't know about other software that will interoperate with the radio via the Ethernet port, but RSBA1 certainly will.
I've got a 7800 which has the second receiver, but I'm just curious because I know you think this radio works just great for, say, dual receive with the function that it has built in.
Well, it doesn't have a dual receive function. It has split, but what you can do. The question was, I have a 7800 which has the dual receiver, but I believe that it's possible to do dual receive with a 7700. And I'm just explaining that the radio has a good split function, but it can't receive 2 signals simultaneously. What you can do, though, is you can get a hybrid splitter, such as a mini circuit splitter, and cable it into the receive in-out jacks on the back of the radio. That'll give you the input of the splitter goes to receive out. The output of the splitter, one of the outputs goes to receive in. The other output goes to another receiver of your choice that you can use as your second receiver. You have to mute the other receiver when you're transmitting, but you could use an SDR, so something like a Perseus SDR. You'll have to figure out a way of muting it, but that'll work just fine as a secondary receiver, and you can use it as a spectrum scope too. And you get the advantage of a radio which was designed with an absolutely no compromise receiver front end.
Does this have the same feature as the 7600 where you can listen on the same band?
No, it doesn't, because it only has a single mixer. The 7600 has a splitter and combiner with 2 first mixers, each with its own synthesizer. So you can listen on 2 frequencies in the same mode and in the same or adjacent bands. But this radio doesn't have that, because you go straight through from the front end through the digicell, which is the pre-selector, the preamp into the first mixer.
Thanks for the demo, and thanks again for all the posts that you put on the group.
Oh, my pleasure. No, I'm glad you enjoyed the demo. Okay, guys. My pleasure. Thanks.
Great job. Good radio.
No, I'm glad you're enjoying it.
I'd like to just try this, what you were doing with the notch filter. Oh, yeah. Please.
I have it notched out, so if you'd like to play with it, there's the notch filter control. And you can vary the width of the notch filter as well. So, yeah, feel free to play with different settings.
So if I just take this out, maybe you could work.
There's a tone.
So
You can switch off TS to get a continuous TS. Press TS. And I'll just tune around and hear the tone again. You know, the spectrum scope.
yeah, I see that.
If the pitch is that high, passband tuning is just
Okay, but you didn't do something right here with the notch.
Oh, no, you have to turn the notch.
Oh,
control.
yeah,
You have to tune the notch.
Yeah.
Because it's a manual notch, you have to tune it.
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, it'll take that right out, too. Yeah, I didn't want to say it.
I agree. It needs to be done before that.
The serial number begins with 1.